Welcome to our deep dive into the world of mobility, where the latest trends and innovations are shaping the future of transportation. But beneath the surface, a stunning lack of transparency is threatening to undermine the entire industry. Just a quick note, results can vary depending on how you use this, so treat it as education, not a guarantee.
That's right, and it's not just limited to one or two companies. The entire mobility ecosystem is plagued by a lack of transparency, from scooter rental services to ride-hailing apps. It's a problem that affects not just consumers, but also investors and regulators.
So, what exactly is the problem? Well, for starters, many mobility companies are not transparent about their pricing models. They use complex algorithms to determine prices, which can lead to unexpected and often exorbitant fees for consumers.
And it's not just pricing. Many mobility companies are also not transparent about their data collection practices. They collect vast amounts of data on their users, often without their knowledge or consent, and use it to inform their business decisions.
But what about the companies that are trying to do the right thing? Are there any mobility companies that are prioritizing transparency and accountability? Yes, there are, and we'll be highlighting some of those companies later in this video.
So, how can we as consumers and investors promote transparency in the mobility industry? One way is to demand more transparency from the companies we support. We can do this by asking questions, reading reviews, and doing our research before using a mobility service.
Another way is to support companies that prioritize transparency and accountability. By choosing to use services that are transparent about their pricing and data collection practices, we can create a market demand for more transparency in the industry.
But what about regulators? What role can they play in promoting transparency in the mobility industry? Well, regulators can set standards and guidelines for transparency, and enforce them through fines and penalties.
And it's not just about punishing companies that don't comply. Regulators can also provide incentives for companies that prioritize transparency, such as tax breaks or subsidies.
So, what are some of the key takeaways from our investigation into the lack of transparency in the mobility industry? First, consumers need to be aware of the potential risks and costs associated with using mobility services.
Second, investors need to do their due diligence and research the companies they're investing in. They need to look beyond the hype and the headlines, and examine the company's track record on transparency and accountability.
And third, regulators need to take a more active role in promoting transparency in the mobility industry. They need to set clear standards and guidelines, and enforce them consistently and fairly.
Now, let's take a closer look at some of the companies that are prioritizing transparency in the mobility industry. One example is a company that provides electric scooter rental services, and is transparent about its pricing model and data collection practices.
Another example is a company that provides ride-hailing services, and is committed to transparency and accountability. They publish regular reports on their safety record, and provide detailed information about their pricing model.
So, what can we learn from these companies? First, transparency is not just a buzzword, but a key component of a successful business strategy. By being transparent about their pricing and data collection practices, these companies can build trust with their customers and establish a competitive advantage.
Second, transparency is not just about complying with regulations, but about doing the right thing. By prioritizing transparency and accountability, these companies can create a positive impact on their customers, employees, and the wider community.
Now, let's talk about the future of mobility and how transparency will play a role in shaping the industry. As the industry continues to evolve and grow, transparency will become increasingly important for building trust and establishing a competitive advantage.
And it's not just about the companies themselves, but also about the ecosystem as a whole. By promoting transparency and accountability throughout the mobility industry, we can create a more sustainable and equitable transportation system for everyone.
So, what's the call to action? What can you do to promote transparency in the mobility industry? First, you can start by doing your research and reading reviews before using a mobility service.
Second, you can support companies that prioritize transparency and accountability. By choosing to use services that are transparent about their pricing and data collection practices, you can create a market demand for more transparency in the industry.
And finally, you can join the conversation and share your thoughts and opinions on social media. By using hashtags and tagging relevant companies and organizations, you can help raise awareness about the importance of transparency in the mobility industry.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content on the mobility industry and beyond.
If you found this helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more AI tools for business and making money content. And if you want to dive deeper, you definitely need to watch our video on how to automate your life with AI next. The link is right there in the description. See you in the next one.